Hey guys, welcome back to more Karen stories. In this video, a neighbor Karen cut the locks to my private property to host an illegal pool party without my permission. Let's dive right into the video to find out what happened. So I'm putting it out here on the internet that I did not want a pool when I was searching for a house. The amount of upkeep and responsibility that comes with having a pool, all of the cleaning you have to do, all the things you need to do to keep the water from getting weird, it just did not appeal to me. The amount of time that went into a pool just did not justify having one, and yet the house that I fell in love with had a pool in the backyard. So I knew I had a choice to make, but I decided to put it in the work. I'm so glad I did though. Pools are awesome, it is great for exercise and amazing when the summer sun gets too much. Yes, it costs money, but it's totally worth it if you're gonna use it as much as I do, which is usually every day during the warmer weather. Anyway, back to why I'm really here. When I moved in, I did not expect the pool to be such a commodity, but it turned out to be the only one in the neighborhood. I had a lot of neighbors compliment me about getting the jump on such a nice place, and one of those neighbors being the person I'm writing about today. I'm just gonna call her Pool Karen, or Karen, since she was obsessed with my pool. Literally obsessed. Whenever she would see me, Karen would ask me about my pool, if I was taking care of it properly and used it often. I would repeatedly answer the same questions she had over and over again, but the most common one she had was if she could use the pool at some point. A part of me just wanted to let her use it for a day, if only to keep her from asking me over and over again. However, during the time that she was asking me to use it, I was still working out an issue with my homeowner's insurance regarding the coverage of the pool under my policy. Long and jargon-filled story short, there wouldn't be coverage on it for anything but natural peril, meaning like damage from a storm, stuff like that, so I was really hesitant to have anyone but me clean it and use it until the policy was officially updated. I explained this to Karen in hopes that she understood that I was declining due to liability reasons, but she insisted that nothing would happen on her watch. It did not really give me peace of mind, also I legit did not know this woman personally. All we ever talked about was my pool, and even when I tried to change the subject, it would just be brought back around to how she would love to take a dip at some point. I tried to avoid her whenever she started coming over to say hello after maybe the 6th or 7th conversation. Fast forward to about a month after I moved into my home, I had a business trip out of state that was supposed to last a week. So I took the necessary security measures by padlocking anything that my in-home security system did not cover. This included the outside entrance to the pool, which was surrounded by a large metal fence, forgot to mention that earlier, which also led to my backyard and a shed I had on the property. Not that I did not trust my neighbors, but it was a whole week, you know. I made sure to give my phone number out to my next-door neighbor just in case I received an expected package that she would take into her house until I got back. I was in the second day of my trip when I got a call from my neighbor. I will call her Charlotte. I had expected her to just let me know that my package had been delivered, but she actually called me to tell me that there were people in my backyard and my pool area. I was more than a bit confused since I had padlocked the entrance, so no one should have been able to get into my backyard at all. I asked Charlotte if she meant that there were people looking in at my pool. I thought maybe Pool Karen was ogling it from outside the fence while I was away, but she told me that they were in my yard and there were more people coming in. Charlotte headed outside and started a video call with me to show me what was going on in my yard and in my pool. It was chaos. There were at least 40 people on my property, most of them in swimsuits and only a few of them in the pool. I could see coolers settled on the side of the fence, filled with what looked to me like beer and soda. There was loud music playing in the background of the call, so loud that I almost could not hear Charlotte trying to talk to me. I just asked her to take herself and her phone back inside, just so I could hear what she was saying. Charlotte explained that she had heard the music before she realized what house it was coming from. There apparently had been a crowd of people congregating outside of my house, and she went over to let them know that I was not home and to just leave. Someone had said that they'd been invited to this address for a fundraiser pool party. Charlotte had tried to explain to the group that the person who owned the house was not there and they had to leave, but then she heard a clanging noise and then everyone was able to get into the backyard. I figured someone must have cut the padlock, and as much as I didn't want to make Charlotte go back outside, I asked her in order to maybe find out who could have done it to get into my yard. Once I hung up, I immediately called the cops to report that there were multiple people trespassing on my property. After I made sure they were headed to my address, I called Charlotte back to see if she found anything and to make sure that she was off my property by the time the police came. Charlotte also told me that she could see bolt cutters lying on the grass just outside of my fence. She did not even make it into my backyard when Karen came up to her and asked her for a $20 donation for the fundraiser she was having. Charlotte claimed that she was going to get the money to get back in her house. She said she saw beer getting served and there were younger people both in and out of the pool too. I did not know if Karen's fundraiser was legit. Again, I hardly knew the woman outside of her wanting to use my pool, but the fact that there was beer being served made me think she was just trying to have an excuse to get money out of people. I asked Charlotte if she had Karen's phone number, wanting to give her a chance to explain herself to me directly, and to be honest, I wanted to make sure that she didn't leave before the police got there. I called Karen and was surprised that she actually picked up. I asked her what she thought she was doing there, and she had the audacity to claim that she did not know what I was talking about. I told her someone had reached out about people in my backyard, and she claimed that I was not in the house and not using the pool, so therefore it was fine. I was furious, telling her that she needed to get off my property, but she said that the people paid to use my pool, so she was just giving them the experience they paid for. I could hear the sirens through the speaker and Karen hung up the phone. I waited to get a call from the officers, having told the police dispatch that I was not at the house and that they should call me once everything is settled or if they had questions. I got a call from them about 2 hours later requesting that I return home and come to the station so they could advise me on the full extent of the situation. I got my boss to let me leave my trip early and headed to the police station in town. The officers wanted to make sure that they were speaking to the actual homeowner before they went over everything, as Karen had made some wild accusations that they wanted to have cleared up. The first was that I allowed her into the pool area. I told them I did not and that I had padlocked the fence to keep people out. They told me that they found the padlock cut and bolt cutters with Karen's fingerprints on them, so they know that she was the one who broke in there. The rest of the people at the pool were people that Karen knew that lived outside of town. They had been invited by Karen to a pool party fundraiser, something she apparently had planned for a few weeks before letting them know when to come over. When the police questioned the group, they thought the house was hers. Like Charlotte said, she was also asking for $20 a person in order to enter the pool area, and when the police arrived, Karen had tried to run away with the cash box that had over $600 in it. The police were able to arrest her at the scene, not just for trespassing, but also for damage to property, cutting the lock on my fence. As well as serving alcohol to minors, there was at least 2 16-year-olds that were drunk. Thankfully though, no one tried to get in the house, but the officers told me that the pool area was a bit of a mess. They were going to have a group of people from the department clean it up to make sure there wasn't any other evidence they missed, so by the time I would get back home, it would be as clean as it could get. After going through everything, they asked if I wanted to press charges, and I said yes. I wanted to get Karen to understand that she couldn't just do something like this and get away without any consequences. The officers told me that they already gathered statements from the people that were at the pool, so I would just need to secure a lawyer if I wanted to take it to court. The proceedings took a bit, even though it was painfully obvious that Karen had done what she did. She pleaded not guilty at first, claiming I gave her verbal permission to use her pool. There was no corroboration for her claim, and when one of the first witnesses from the party went on the stand, they claimed to have received an invitation from her even before I moved into the house. So regardless, she was gonna find a way into that pool even before I legally owned it. In the end though, she did get a plea deal after that witness. She had to pay a hefty fine and was sentenced to probation for all 3 counts. The deal had her not be sent to jail or something, but the fine was not able to be negotiated. It's been about 3 years now, and Karen moved out of the neighborhood pretty quickly after the trial finished. But she had to stay in the county as part of her probation. I have no idea what she is up to now, and frankly, I don't care. I'm just glad that justice was served. And yeah guys, if an entitled Karen had a pool party on your private property, what would you have done? Would you have acted the same way? Let us know in the comments. And now let's dive into a new nuclear revenge story that you don't want to miss. It starts like this. So a while back I'd been hired to be the marketing person for a family business. It was a fitness equipment liquidator that had been founded by a gold medalist Olympian. He had fallen into some mental health issues and had delegated his wife to take over the business. She had no experience but took the reins anyway, and she and her children ran the place, albeit with some success, so this is where I come in. The first red flag I should have seen was that she was trying to screw over the recruiter by wanting us to do a side deal to pay me technically less but still more than I would have gotten without the recruiter as the middle person. But I was in bed and I didn't think too much about it. The next thing was how embedded the family aspect was in this business, that there was basically no distinction between the employees and family affairs being wrapped up in their work environment too. But I was just happy to be finally in a place where I felt welcome and almost love-bombed by the CEO, who treated me like one of her own children, always lots of hugs and even kisses during good morning meetings as if we were coming downstairs for breakfast. Meetings ended up turning into brainstorming sessions because the CEO's children and the workers were so scatterbrained and didn't want to commit to any specific plans of actions, and I was basically on my own when it came to any marketing or anything because nobody would actually participate if it came down to it. About a month or so into it, I get ambushed by the CEO and her daughter, who was like the operations person technically or something. Both were wondering why we hadn't achieved as much as I had wanted to, and when I explained that I didn't really receive much help or participation from anyone, suddenly it became all about blaming me for everything wrong and why sales were down and why nothing was exponentially growing as she had hoped they would. I explained what actions I had taken and that I was doing exactly what I said I was going to do. It was not my fault that nobody wanted to help, and when they said they would, it didn't matter. They wanted me gone because they expected the moon in 3 weeks' time with zero budget and zero help from anyone else, so I just left. I want to add, I did a lot while there. I automated a lot of their processes that they were doing by hand, set up Salesforce and Slack, as well as setting up and handling Zendesk and a ticketing system, and even automating a lot of POS processes so that from card tab to accounting, it was all smooth and seamless, and I made tons of things very efficient for them and improved productivity while there. But none of that mattered, of course. They wanted double the sales from basically social media posting and nothing else. Also, while I was there, I had documented tons of OSHA violations, exposed wires where customers would walk, ADA violations, customer safety violations, forklifts operated with zero certification and no PPE, and having employees standing on top of the forks just to reach the warehouse ceiling, with no safety or anything. Also, there were structural violations, you name it. They did landlord special type fixes and left things in often worse states than before. I made the call and sent OSHA photos of what I had documented, which I'd only documented in the event of needing to use it. Never actually expected it to come to that, but it did. After talking with them, it was explained to me that there was months-long processes to get actions to be taken, even with evidence. The penalties for the violations I had evidence for were financially crippling fines I knew they would not be able to handle. And after a month of checking every now and then, I got confirmation that action was taken. Then a couple months later, I drove past a warehouse/showroom and saw that it was abandoned. Broken ladders, overgrown grass in the parking lot, boarded up windows and doors for lease, all gone and dilapidated. While I was placing those calls, I was also reaching out to my realtor friend, who is super good at what she does, saying that we should time it right so after these fines and penalties, she can drop literature off at their door until they are convinced to sell. She didn't do it in time, but she did catch wind that the house had been sold, and sold fast. Their website was 404'd and they basically packed their bags and left. I still cannot believe it worked, but sometimes in life we have to accept that we are the karma that someone has coming to them. Goodbye, Amy, wherever you and your family left to, we are even. And yeah guys, if you have any personal revenge stories out of your own life, I would love to hear them either in the comments or on r/Ripestories on Reddit, where you can post full-fledged stories. The next one is titled Malicious Compliance Done Right. I used to work at a grocery store. It was in this smallish beachside community that had a lot of tourists and summer homes. I chose the store because they were all about finding long-time workers and had a little bonus and salary boost for those who finished the probationary period. I had just finished school and planned on taking a gap year, so that worked out well in my mind. I started about 2 months before summer and it was nice. We had a base of co-workers that worked well with each other, most middle-aged women and some pensioners. Found out quickly the smoke break was for gossiping about the others, and sometimes I took part when clients pissed me off or other co-workers. The usual daily things. I was told from day one that the manager did not give a damn about us because she was also a manager at a bigger store. The rule was if you had someone to cover you, it was fine to do whatever. Some people took hour-long breaks, some drank during the job, but I was trying to make a good impression on my first job in that town, so I never did anything like that. Since I did not have that much of a social life, I always changed shifts when someone needed, came in if someone was sick. I even stocked the end shelves, which were the shift manager's job. When the pensioners asked in the middle of the day to change assignments because their back hurt from stocking, I was always okay with it. And they were really thankful. One of them, let's call her Lydia, was actually a neighbor and friends with my grandparents, so we used to hang out during lunch breaks, and she even comforted me when I had a panic attack. We used to ride home together on our bikes if we finished together. She kind of took me under her wing and used to call me her work granddaughter. Things kind of took a turn once summer started. Usually it was about 1,000 euros per 2 registers, but now it was suddenly 2,000 per one. They also hired summer workers who were 3 16-year-old stock boys, one being the manager's son. Not to be an old-timer cursing the work ethics of children, but they were literally playing some tank games on their phone on the store floor while they had a cart of stuff that they needed to put out in front of them. Not to mention the not checking of dates, shoving old stuff in the back and new in the front, not checking if the barcode matched the price tag's barcode, etc. What really pissed me off was that they did not flush and pissed all over the toilet seat. Management made it my job to clean after them. I was told I could not say anything to call them out, so it became my everyday duty to clean the toilets because the cleaner only came in the morning. Then the self-service checkouts came. I was the only cashier there when the builders put them in, so it became my duty to train the others, including management and the 2 60+ somethings. Lydia took it easy. The old man literally refused to learn, so now every day either me or Lydia had to be in the store because the old man refused. It was also a regular that he came in drunk and drank at work. Also, he used to hit on me a lot, but I brushed it off. So, a lot on my shoulders. Stuff went down after I got my vaccine in the start of August. I had 2 days off and figured I would not get that sick because I already had it. It was about a week or so before my probation period ended. On Monday I felt terrible and called in, my first time during the whole time I worked there. I called in with the manager and he said, "You have to come. Lydia is on vacation and the only other one who already knows is already sick. You did not give us proper notice." Trying to argue that I have a fever of 39 degrees and feel like crap. No, I have to come in, so I get my stuff together and go to work. I was scrubbing the toilet floor with a fever, dealing with customers with a fever, and yes, I took more breaks. Most co-workers asked me why I looked like crap and I told them I was sick. I ended the day and went home. Next day I felt even worse. I called in to say, "No, I am putting my foot down, I cannot come." This was the first time I took a stand and said I cannot destroy my health. "Fine, you call Lydia and tell her. If she agrees, then you have to take sick leave." Okay, not really my job, but fine. I call her, woke her up, apologized profusely and told her the situation. She understood and wished me to feel better and then hung up. I called my doctor and got on sick leave and then informed my manager. I went back to sleep and got a call a few hours later. "It is Lydia. You make everyone's life so difficult here. Come in and give in your resignation." She is not the manager, she is just a cashier like me. I asked what the hell and she told me that they've been talking on the smoke break with all the shift managers and the main manager, and apparently they decided I complained too much about my health and about other workers. I asked why my manager did not call me. There was no real explanation. I said if the manager wants to fire me, she would have to call me herself. There was no call, so 2 hours later I called her myself and asked what was going on. It is true, I need to resign my position. I asked why they don't just terminate me, I am still on probation, and he said, "Cannot, because you're on sick leave." It does not really make sense. During the probation period they can fire me with no notice, no reasoning. I am fuming at this point. Fine, I will come in with my 39-degree fever. Got on my bike, pedaled the 3 kilometers. Everyone is giving me dirty looks. Manager gives me a filled out paper stating I quit on the day for personal reasons. I ask, so you cannot fire me because I'm on sick leave? I need to resign. Manager says yes, it is too much paperwork to fire me because she does not have the time. Okay, deal. I take out a blank piece of paper, write my quitting date as 2 weeks from now to be polite and give them the proper notice. Manager was fuming and argued I cannot do that. I said that's the time frame I need to give according to my contract. She was too lazy to argue more. I signed the sheet and walked out. Called my doctor the next morning and talked about my sick leave. A few days later, the manager calls me. Tomorrow is the big town fair. I am definitely not sick anymore and can I come in tomorrow? They are super short-staffed. I said that I'm on sick leave. She said I cannot still be feeling bad and must get into work right now. I told them no, my sick leave ends on day after my resignation date. She got super pissy and said that if I didn't come to work she would have to be on the register the whole day. To that I just coughed fakely and said well have fun and hung up. I spent the 2 weeks on the beach on paid sick leave and also my probation lapsed so they had to pay me the bonus. And yeah, Ripe stars, even though that is a sort of positive outcome for the OP, that is still a horrible work environment to be in. I really hope dearly that OP found a better job after this one. Because honestly, this one kind of sounds like slave labor. And before we end the video, we will read one last story from r/PattyRevenge. It is titled Help at the Dock. This happened about 15 years ago. A friend of ours worked at a swanky bar that had a dock and boat rental on a lake full of $1 million+ waterfront homes. Midweek boat rentals were free for him, so we packed the boat full of friends and beer. A few hours in, it was past time to relieve the pressure of all the beers we consumed, so off to the dock at his work. We docked and everyone left me to watch the boat. While waiting, a couple pulls up to the dock in a beautiful wooden speedboat. The gentleman driving was having a hard time as it was windy and he kept drifting away from the dock. Seeing this, I jumped on the dock and asked him for his rope, which he tossed without saying a word. I tried his boat off at the dock and he says, "You know, most people would move their boat to the windward side so others could dock easier," in a rather mean snark tone. I looked at him with a questioning expression, bent over, united his boat and threw his rope in the water. His boat now turned off and drifting in the wind, I hear his wife say, "Why do you always have to be an a-hole?" I sat back in the boat with a smile as he cussed and struggled for the next 10 minutes. Moral of the story, don't bite the hand that feeds you. And yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you again tomorrow.